This week at the Internet Cafe, ET on your PC. Is there intelligent life on the net? UFOs, aliens, ID4, and bugs on Mars. The Museum of Jurassic Technology. And who is this man's barber? Plus free software, 4 megabytes of cyberblast cool stuff if you've got a TV modem. Are we alone? The answer tonight at the Internet Cafe.
The Internet Cafe is made possible in part by Intel. One idea always leads to another. Now there are connected CD-ROMs that link rich multimedia with related information on the Internet. For connected CD-ROMs, it's the Intel Pentium processor.
Hi, and welcome to the Internet Cafe. I'm Stuart Chaffee, and these are my friends Andrew and Jane, and we're here in a cyber cafe called the Coffee Net in downtown San Francisco, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun tonight because we're talking about websites that have to do with space exploration, the search for extraterrestrials, UFOs, and aliens, and all that stuff. And there's obviously a lot of people interested in this stuff. Matter of fact, there's one stat I want to mention to you. If you categorize websites by type, the second most popular type of website has to do with aliens and UFOs and all that kind of stuff.
Wow, I'm really excited to this show because we're going to talk about some of the hype that's been surrounding UFOs in the media lately. There was the Mars sighting where there was, I guess, worms that were found that may have actually been from Mars. There's been recent sightings of galaxies that have very similar attributes to our planet, and there may be life on there. And plus, the biggest movie of the summer was Independence Day. You've got TV shows like Third Rock from the Sun and Millennium coming out now.
Yeah.
So
People
there's just
are into it.
Very much, very
It's
much.
going to be really neat. You know, one of the things that was really exciting in getting prepared for the show tonight was looking at some of the websites, specifically the Abductees Anonymous website. That's that support group for people
who've been abducted by an alien.
Right,
They
exactly.
need support.
And you know what's really interesting is reading through it. I mean, first of all, it was really fascinating for me to understand what it's all about, but also the whole concept of using the internet for support groups and the ability to be able to communicate with people in privacy, you know, without people going face to face and opening up, but really telling their stories and sharing experiences. It's really phenomenal.
Well, we're going to check out a lot of very interesting websites that have to do with Roswell and Area 51 and all this kind of interesting stuff, and meet several people who hang out at these websites and are going to tell us quite a bit about it. What are you guys doing here?
Trying to decide whether or not this particular image is a fake or not. It looks
Doesn't
like
look
it's
too hard to figure out.
Yeah, it looks pretty much just like a pretty easy double exposure, but we're trying to figure out what the actual abstract image here would be. It could be anything. I think that's really the key to a lot of the UFO images is make them as abstract as possible, and you can say it's anything.
Show us another one, then. I mean, some of these are like known fakes, right, Josh?
Sure, and this is a great guy who drew diagrams of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you can see this was done back in the 50s, so...
But show us the photo we took.
Yeah.
And that looks like some sort of lampshade, hubcap, what is it?
Yeah, it's a hubcap, and he's taken ping pong balls and glued them to the underside.
So the little balls there are ping pong?
Yeah, they're halves of ping pong balls. And he's taken some sort of coffee can lid or something and put it on, or upper half of a coffee can and put it on.
All right, so this is a site that's just a collection of all the UFO photos that have been around over the years and so on?
Yes.
It's basically a smorgasbord of images. Anybody can contribute an image to it, and they try to...
Click on that one right there. Yeah, the Belgian one. Oh, that's...
They try to bring all types of images, both fakes and real ones, because really it's hard to, the ones that are even at this point real, it's really just not proven that they're fake.
Real means you haven't proven it's a fake.
Exactly.
All right, this is the UFO stuff. We talked earlier at the beginning of the program about this Abductees Anonymous thing. There's really an interesting site where people who claim to have been abducted by aliens have like a support group where they share their experiences. What do you think about that stuff?
I think the abductee phenomenon is a little bit too widespread to be real. I think that if aliens were abducting people, they'd probably be more discreet about it. And there's just...
The other thing is, like, on the internet, well, I think that he's right in a sense that there's way too many. But on the other hand, a forum like this is needed for people who might have had an experience like that.
I mean, if you believe it, you need support.
But why does it never happen to anybody reputable? Why does it always happen to people driving pickup trucks?
Well, that's why I live in the city, because it never happens in the city. But yeah, it's basically, I think that it's something that's just starting to happen in the human culture, that they're starting to contact aliens, and it's a very gradual process that will happen over many generations. And in order to sort it all out, we're going to have to turn to something like the internet so that information can pass freely.
Assuming that we were being contacted by aliens and that the government was talking to them and everything, why would they continue to pick these random people off of streets in the middle of nowhere?
I think it's because aliens realize that a centralized form of government just does not work when you're trying to get at a change in civilization.
So aliens are really netizens when it comes down.
Exactly.
Let's talk about some websites for people who are interested in this stuff. I mean, whether it's real or not, who knows? But where would you suggest that people go on the web? What sites are worthwhile pursuing if you're interested in extraterrestrials and all that stuff?
Well, I know that there's a couple of sites concerning well-known abduction phenomenon, like Whitley Strieber's site, Strieber.com. He talks about his book that he wrote about his abduction experience, and how in the second book he talks about the government cover-up of it and a thing called Majestic 12, which is a council of supposedly U.S. government officials, 12 of them, that have contacted the aliens or making deals with them.
Well known but not well proven, necessarily.
Well known but not well proven, yes.
Right. I mean, the fact is on the net, I mean, one of the problems is, I mean, who knows what's real? You can write anything you want, right? So, I mean,
that's right.
I think you characterize it as like the world's greatest propaganda machine, if that's what
exactly. It's, I mean, basically anybody can put anything up there, and if you've got somebody who's reputable or so-called reputable, like Whitley Strieber, then you can go ahead and put something up, and people will believe it a lot more than, say, Joe Schmo from Kokomo.
Yeah. All right, what other sites? You mentioned that one. Where else would you send people?
There's another site about the Men in Black, which is an alien hive intelligence that is supposedly covering up the alien abductions and alien sightings, and they go to people who have seen UFOs and taken pictures of them and threaten them into silence.
Sounds like a good plot for a CD-ROM adventure game.
It is, actually. They're very sinister. They dress all in black and they drive black cars.
Hey, look at us, you know?
Yeah, and they supposedly are controlled by an alien hive intelligence that is just like on the other side of the moon.
All right, what's interesting? Where should somebody who really doesn't know anything about this, Josh, want to find out a little bit about the UFOs, the alien
Well, a good
phenomena?
place to start for looking for any type of information is a big web browser like Yahoo, for instance. Yahoo actually has several categories, and under entertainment, they have a whole area of paranormal activities, under which there's everything from mysticism and the occult to UFO sightings and abductions. The links coming off of there should also take you to other interesting sites all over the net.
Yeah, the UFO link is pretty good. I mean, you do the Area 51 stuff and the Roswell stuff and all the usual things there. Let me go back to the UFO business or the abductee business. I mean, we were talking before about, you were saying sometimes there's just real science underneath these things. There are natural phenomena that are interpreted as mystery stuff, but it's just real science.
Well, sure. There's a phenomenon where the tectonic plates of the Earth move against each other, and in doing so, they release a lot of energy by breaking crystals and rocks, and this energy actually dissipates into the atmosphere in a big flash, which is actually what a lot of abductees describe as the beginning of their abduction experience. The discharge of electricity also creates a magnetic field, which is known to affect the brain in very specific ways. When they've recreated this field in laboratory tests, they've actually been able to almost recreate the abduction experience, the feeling of not being able to move, of the idea that there's somebody right there, and if you just turn your head, you'll be able to see him. All of these have been recreated in laboratory environments and match almost exactly the abduction experiences.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Have you been abducted by aliens? Have any of your relatives been abducted by aliens? Have any of your pets been abducted by aliens? Well, you should know of an online support group called Abductees Anonymous at www.cybergate.com, which has useful information like the 52 signs of alien abduction, online research information, and the ability to have your abduction experience published on the World Wide Web. So be sure to check out Abductees Anonymous.
So Dan, you are the webmaster at the UC Berkeley astronomy website. What was your objective when you first started the website?
We wanted to create a site that would serve both the astronomers in the department and the public. So we created links to pages like the American Astronomical Society page, which has abstracts and data.
So the more technical stuff.
Right, and then we have links to various faculty home pages where they can put their own papers and so on. And then for the public, we have links to the NASA homepage, which is just a really great
What kind of things are at NASA?
page. Well, you can find pictures, images of galaxies, the planets. You can find stories about astronomers and
sort of basic backgrounds on what it's all about in the world of
Right,
astronomy.
yeah,
So if you
what
weren't
the
an expert,
whole
you could get a
thing is
really good
about.
sense of it.
Right.
What are
And
some other hot
another
sites
good
you've got?
site is Space Telescope page, and they have images that have been collected from the Hubble Space Telescope. They have a greatest hits page that always has beautiful images. And let's see, what other sites are good for the public?
What was that Life on Mars you were talking to me about?
Oh, the
earlier?
Life on Mars page.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
It's really
well,
current, too.
Right. Well, just recently, scientists announced that a meteorite was uncovered that has fossilized remains of some very tiny organisms. So it's believed that life may have existed on Mars at some point in the past. So if you go to this page, you can get current information. You can read the initial reports that scientists wrote.
And then keep up to date on the other things and that
Right.
type of thing. So we've got lots of stuff on astronomy. What about extraterrestrial life, taking it a little bit step further?
Right.
There was that website you told me about, was it Serendip? Let me see if I can remember. Search for extraterrestrial radio emissions in nearby developing intelligent populations, I think it is what
Right.
the acronym was. But it's really
Right.
basically another SETI site, UC Berkeley
Right.
SETI
It's
site.
UC Berkeley site.
So that's a really interesting one.
That's right. Their method is to scan the sky looking for radio signals from sources out there. Other sites are doing similar work, focusing in on nearby suns, and so far nothing's turned up. But the data is still there, and better algorithms are being written to analyze the
So
data.
this is serious stuff. I mean, people are seriously trying to find out if there is intelligent life out there outside of
definitely.
our own
It's
world. So that's
a
kind of neat.
question mankind has
But we haven't
had.
got any information yet,
No.
though. So I guess we'll have to keep posted on that website for
Right.
for a long while to come. Some of the other websites, you know, if you're on one side of the world saying that there's extraterrestrials out there, I mean, there must be some skeptics out there. Are there
Right.
any
Well,
interesting
one
websites?
page is the Skeptical Inquirer,
Okay.
and that might be of interest to people. It's they have some articles that talk about the psychology of some of the people who have reported alien abductions and studies about.
So are they just giving background, or do they have
Well, they're-
sort of opinions on
They
that?
do.
or-
They have their opinion
Yeah.
that they're very doubtful of any paranormal occurrences, and it's a pretty amusing site actually. And another site that I really like is the Museum of Jurassic Technology site.
Well, now what's that all about?
It's actually a museum that's in Los Angeles, and it's a great site for anyone who's interested in the whole idea of hoaxes and what's true, what's not true, and then the whole idea of metaphor. You know, even given that we're going to talk about aliens, you know, what are we really talking about?
Okay. So what are some things that you'd find in that museum at the
well,
website?
Well, for instance, there's one exhibit that's about an ant that lives in the rainforest in the Cameroon. It's called the stink ant.
The stink ant.
Yes.
Okay.
And it goes along the jungle floor, and every now and then a spore comes down and infects the ant. And after a while, the ant stops going around the floor and it climbs up a tree, and there it dies. And after a few days, a kind of spiky fungus grows out of its head, and then spores come down and infect other ants. And some of the people who see this exhibit, I mean, you don't know. I mean, this sounds totally crazy, but apparently it's one of the real exhibits.
So what are you saying? Is that there are actually some exhibits that aren't real?
Right.
So what's that all about? I mean, you have real exhibits and then things that look like they're real, or I'm not quite sure.
Right.
Do you know which ones are which?
Well, that's their whole point. And there's another exhibit, for instance, that examines folklore and how, in some cases, important discoveries like the discovery of penicillin, in some sense, was based on Alexander Fleming taking seriously some folklore, old wives' tales. And so it's interesting to me. I mean, my point of view about all that's going on and all the interest in aliens.
Extraterrestrials and those types of
Yeah,
things.
it's definitely an interesting phenomenon, just that people are reporting this and what it means about the human mind. Jung was really interested in this when it first started happening in the 40s, when people were reporting seeing flying saucers.
Right.
And
So it's kind of interesting that the internet, you've got this wide variety of information. I mean, we can go from one end of the extreme to, you know, talking about support groups for abductees, and on the other side going to the astronomy sites.
Right.
And then we've got, you know, all the skeptics and opinions and so forth.
I think
So we've
it's
got
great.
a pretty interesting
I mean,
mix.
anyone who has any opinion can go out there and see that there are people who have totally opposite opinions.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great having that information exchange.
Thanks a lot, Dan, for visiting us. It's been great talking with you.
Thank you.
On tonight's Cyber Blast, we're going to send you 4 cool programs. That's right, our Cyber Blast is dumping data so fast that we can send you 4 complete programs in less than 2 minutes. Now, what you're seeing over here is the actual data coming into your computer right now. We're sending you these programs in the TV signal at about 2 megabytes per minute. If you don't have a TV modem, you can also get these files off of our website using your regular telephone modem. Doing it that way will take you at least half an hour of connection time. With our super-fast Cybercast technology, we're able to send you these files in less than 2 minutes. Now let me tell you what we're sending you. First of all, if you love those spectacular explosion scenes in the movie Independence Day, you can see them over and over again now on your PC. We're sending you the new Independence Day screensaver so you can watch and listen as alien UFOs blow up half the country. Now next, if you like blasting away at aliens yourself, we've got 2 cool games for you. We're sending you a game called Inner Space. It's got great graphics and sound, and it has a screensaver mode so you can have the game pop up whenever you want. The other game we're sending you right now is a shareware program called Mutant Space Bats of Doom. It's from Pop Software. Now this is a trial copy. Again, it's got great animation, music, and sound effects. Finally, if you're serious about space and the quest for aliens and UFOs, we're sending you a gorgeous MPEG file from NASA. It's an animation of the planned permanent space station, and it shows you the space station circling the Earth. Remember, we're sending all 4 of these programs to you in under 2 minutes. Now, to download these files this fast, you do need something called a TV modem. If you need information on how to use or find a TV modem, just check out the Internet Cafe section of our website at www.pctv.com. So the download is just about complete now. Have fun with your 4 new programs. Remember, for more information, check out our website at www.pctv.com. That wraps up this Cyber Blast on the Internet Cafe. I'm Giles Bateman.
So I've been doing a lot of surfing on the internet recently and checking out UFO sites. And one of the things that I've noticed is that there's a lot of mention of this Roswell and Area 51. Can you tell me a little bit about what those places mean?
Well, Roswell was supposedly this big government cover-up back in, I think it was 1947.
Where is Roswell?
It's in New Mexico.
Okay.
And basically, a rancher or a farmer reported that he found all these weird metallic objects on his farm, and they called in the local government from the Air Force Base, and they came out, and first they're saying it's UFOs, blah, blah, and then next thing you know, there's this big whitewash that it's weather balloon.
It's like a government cover-up, potentially, kind of thing?
Right, exactly.
And how does Area 51 fit into this mix?
So Area 51 is another, it's a secret military base that no one kind of claims to. It's about 90 miles north of Las Vegas in Nevada.
Okay.
And
what do they have there?
Well, there's lots of different rumors. Supposedly, that's where they keep the crashed UFOs or the preserved alien remains that were in the Roswell incident, or it could be just where they test the latest secret aircraft.
Oh, great. Okay, and you have some things here. This is actually a vehicle pass that you would need to get into Area 51?
Well, this is a kind of a cloned version of the pass. There's this guy, Psycho Spy, who has a website. And he runs the Area 51 Research Center.
Okay.
And he's
is that his real name, Psycho Spy?
Psycho Spy is his handle, and his real name's Glenn Campbell.
Not the Glenn Campbell.
Not the Glenn Campbell country singer.
Okay.
But he's actually was a computer programmer in Massachusetts, and then supposedly the aliens told him to come to Nevada, and he kind of hangs out at Area 51, studies them, and is kind of a big promoter for trying to find out what exactly is going on there.
Great. Have you ever been to Area 51 yourself?
I have. A year ago, I was out in Vegas for DEF CON, which is a hacker convention.
Okay.
And a bunch of hackers and I went out there, and
did you see any aliens out there?
You know, you see a lot of weird stuff in the desert, but no aliens.
No aliens.
Nothing I couldn't explain.
Great. What are some of the other UFO sites that you're really interested in?
Let's see. There's Internet UFO Group, which has a big website with a huge archive of different, everything from the latest UFO sightings to images to movie clips.
I think I've seen that. Isn't that the only one that also has sort of a 24-hour news ticker that
Right,
gives you
but-
all the most recent alien sightings from around the
Exactly.
world as well? Great. Well, I see you've also brought some CDs and things for us to take a look at. I'm just kind of curious. What does a CD on aliens have that you can't find on the internet?
Well, the internet is great because there's so much information. Anybody can put up whatever they want. But the problem is a lot of times it's hard to find. So like the CD, like you can go to your local computer
This
store.
is the Unexplained.
And you can pick up something like the Unexplained, which is everything from aliens to crop circles to basically anything bizarre and occult. And it's basically set up like a little documentary where there's different movie clips and explanation and lets you draw your own conclusion to what's happening.
Great. I see you also have here a CD-ROM from Independence Day, which is a really hot movie. As an alien expert yourself, or someone who's really interested in it, what do you think of this CD-ROM?
This is inside Independence Day, and the movie was okay. It was kind of hokey, but
What part did you think was hokey?
well, especially towards the end, where like they're inflicting the virus on the Windows 95 alien computer. It's kind of lame.
You thought that was a little bit too much of a cross-platform compatibility issue.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
But the CD is cool because it has storyboards and sketches and clips from the movie and a promo for their Goofy game. But if you're into filmmaking, it's a lot of background information, behind the scenes stuff.
I also see you have a child's game here, Alien Arcade.
Yeah, Alien Arcade is great if you have you're some yuppie guy and you got a little rug rat gooping up your computer keyboard, and you give them Alien Arcade, and it's the non-violent arcade game. Like they go and like play with stinky snakes and rascally robots and all kinds of stuff.
Now, when you say non-violent, do you mean that it's going to teach your kids to befriend aliens, or it's just not that you're blowing them up constantly?
Well, you're not killing them. You're kind of just bouncing them around and stuff. So yeah,
Great. Okay. Now, I have a question for you because I've noticed that the back of your head has a certain alien on it, and I've seen that on the Schwa Corporation website. We have a little information here on the Schwa Corporation. I'm just curious, what is that all about?
Schwa is done by an artist, Bill Carter, and it's basically, I don't know what exactly it is.
It looks like an alien logo, right?
Right. He does a lot of different artwork with everything from alien detector kits to the counter Schwa kit, which is to prevent yourself from being abducted or something like that. And it's just pretty cool artwork.
So you're saying this is this art, or is this actually?
I don't know if he believes it or not. I don't think that's important. I don't think he's like out there trying to make money on the alien craze. I just think he's doing what he likes to do, which is like pretty cool art.
Great. All right. Well, thanks a lot.
This is Thomas Icom over at Loft Heavy Industries. Some UFO enthusiasts actually believe that the unidentified flying objects could be experimental aircraft flown by the Air Force out of areas such as Area 51 in the Nevada desert. What they have done is set up communication systems such as these receivers and this spectrum analyzer to identify the actual radio frequencies being used by the test pilots as they do their runs with the experimental aircraft.
Well, we had another interesting time in the cafe tonight. I mean, these were interesting people. What I really liked about you had the PhD, like the serious scientist you were talking to, and I really liked that, Museum of Jurassic Technology, where he really made the interesting point. Is it science? Is it science fiction? Like, maybe it doesn't matter.
Well, it's really hard to tell. I mean, this whole talk about UFOs, I mean, what is real and what's not so real? And I think the really interesting thing was really the concept of using the internet to find out information on today's topic, which was UFOs. But the fact is, you can go to the web and get information from one end of the spectrum to the other on UFOs.
One end of the galaxy to the other, which is, I think, where you
My guy
were
was
tonight.
a little bit out in the other galaxy, but it was definitely, I think, more on the science fiction end. But we got to see some really great sites. We got to go to see Roswell and Area 51, which are these sort of obscure government conspiracy UFO type places out in the in Nevada desert. And we also got to see some really interesting sort of alien hairstyles there.
We did that. We did indeed. I kind of like your point, Jane, about the power of the web. It doesn't really matter what the subject is. Like when Josh and Darren showed me that site where you could see all the UFO pictures over the last 50 years. I mean, you can't find anything like that. And you could look at them and see what was the fake and analyze the fakes and so on. Or even that Abductees Anonymous, which we might sort of giggle at. But if you read the stuff, there are kind of interesting discussions going on there. Last point I think Josh made when I talked to him was very useful. I said, where do you go to look for this stuff? He said, go to Yahoo and click on entertainment.
Right.
So it gives us a little bit of perspective. Thanks for joining us tonight. Get your coffee mug and your TV browser and join us again next week at the Internet Cafe.
The Internet Cafe is made possible in part by Intel. One idea always leads to another. Now there are connected CD-ROMs that link rich multimedia with related information on the Internet. For connected CD-ROMs, it's the Intel Pentium processor.